Hello everyone and welcome to That's What He Said. I'm Sid Hansen and today we're taking a look at this 1978 GMC Sierra Grande C15. Now a lot of people know what these are. This is a square body from Chevy and GMC and they are ubiquitous. They're everywhere. Everybody loves these trucks, whether it's in a nice stock form like this one I have today, or a lifted mud truck, lowered down, more of a hot rod style. Everybody loves a good square body. These started in 1960 and they ran until 2002 as the C/K line. And then in 1987, they did actually separate them. They went to the OBS style body for the fourth generation, which started in 1988 technically. And then the square body style continued until 1991, but they had changed it from the C/K line to the R/V line. And it still meant the same thing. C was your two-wheel drive version, K was your 4x4. And then for the RV, it was R is two-wheel drive, V is 4x4. So today we're gonna go ahead and take a little look at this truck, get some history, and I won't be able to get it out and drive it unfortunately because it is on consignment through Lums GMC, but I am still very grateful that they are letting me at least do a video on it. Alright, so before we get started, I'd like to thank Lums GMC of McMinnville, Oregon for letting me check out this Sierra Grande today. If you're in the market for a new truck or SUV, definitely go check them out. They've got all of the newest product, including the Hummer EV, which is definitely kind of a neat one. Lums has been serving the McMinnville area for over 18 years, and they've been in business for over 50. If you need any parts or accessories, they've got a full parts department. They've got a whole service area, kind of like a quick lube side, so if you're needing some oil changes done or tire rotation, they can definitely get you sorted out on that. And then in the back, they've also got a more extensive service center if you're needing like engine work or transmission work. So definitely go check them out. All right, so let's go ahead and go over the CK line starting from the beginning. So you had the first generation, which started in 1960, like I said, and that ran until 1966. And then they went to the second generation, which they nicknamed the Action line, and that ran from 1967 until 1972. The one that we're looking at today is the third generation, which ran from 1973 to 1991. And ironically, GM called it the rounded line because it's very round, obviously. Everybody, colloquially, it's known as a square body. You're never going to hear anybody call this the rounded one, but that's what GM used. The reason why was they did do a bunch of wind tunnel testing. They wanted this one to be more aerodynamic than the Action line, and so they took it into the wind tunnel and checked to see how, you know, they could improve the aerodynamics and make this nice and smooth. And so they did certain things like rounded off the front fenders, and the belt line was clean to help the wind pass along it more smoothly. And despite the fact that it was square, it was more aerodynamic than the Action line, surprisingly. The fourth generation ran from 1988 until 2002, and GM just called it the GMT 400 line, which is very catchy. And so people eventually started referring to it as the OBS, or old body style. So the one we're looking at today is a C15. With the Chevy line of trucks, they did C10, C20, C30, and then with GMC, they went 15, 25, 35, at least from 73 to 1980. After that, they went to 1500, 2500, 3500. And what that is a reference to, they call it, you know, like the tonnage of the truck. So this one would be a half-ton truck, the 25 is a 3/4 ton truck, and the 35 is a 1-ton truck. And as you move up through those, you get beefier suspension, usually better alternators, just things to make the truck built more for towing, for taking heavy loads, things like that. Now, Sierra Grande is the trim level of the truck. When it started out in 1973, you had Custom, and then above that was Super Custom, and then Sierra, and Sierra Grande was the top nicest trim. Well, in 1975, they changed up the trim levels, and so Sierra actually became the base model, and then you had Sierra Grande, High Sierra, and Sierra Classic, which was the new top trim level. Now, other than the standard trims, you also had specialty trims. These were kind of unique packages, and so throughout the run of the K or C/K trucks, you know, the square bodies, they had a bunch of Indy 500 pace truck designs. There was a lot of different ones. And then other than the Indy 500 models, you also had ones like the Foxy Sierra. There was also the Sarge model, which they made like a van and a semi as well. It's kind of cool. This one was the Impact. This is the Gentleman Jim. I love the name. It's the Bo James edition. The Amarillo GT, a little sportier. The Mule, which is kind of a take on like the Dodge Warlock. And my personal favorite, the GMC Desert Fox. Now, of course, Chevy wasn't alone in the truck market during this era. You know, other than the square body, you were going to have competitors from Dodge with the D/W line. And of course, Ford with the F-Series. And then Jeep was also a player at the time. They had the J-Series pickup. All right, so starting at the front, if you want to get underneath the hood, really simple. You just walk up right at the top of the grill above the M. There's a little lever. Pull that lever up, and then from there, you just, it unlatches the hood, and you just lift it straight up, and that gives you access to the engine compartment. As far as engines go, there was a ton of different options for this truck. You had a 250 cubic inch inline six that ran from 73 to 84. There was also a 292 cubic inch inline six from 73 to 86. You could get a 262 cubic inch V6 from 85 to 87. And then as far as V8s go, that's where the majority of the engines were. So you had a 305 cubic inch V8 from 77 to 87, a 307 cubic inch, which was only for 73, just the initial year. There's a 350 cubic inch V8, which is what this truck has in it, and that ran from 73 to 91. There was a 400 cubic inch V8 from 75 to 80, a 454 cubic inch V8 from 73 to 91, and you also had a couple diesel options. There was a 350 cubic inch Oldsmobile diesel from 78 to 81, and then there was also a 379 cubic inch V8 Detroit diesel from 82 to 91. So yeah, definitely not hurting on options for engines. So moving around the engine bay, kind of go over some of the stuff. So this was your washer fluid reservoir, just a little jug kind of mounted on the fender with a hose coming off of it. You also had your brake fluid reservoir. Down here on the front of the motor was your power steering pump. And so the cap itself was also the dipstick. You just twisted it out, and then it had a full cold level on one side, full hot level on the other side, and then like an add line if you needed to add more. And then you just put it back in there, twist it back on, and you're good to go. To check your oil, just a little dipstick you pull out on the driver's side. On the passenger side in the front, you had your coolant jug. Then if you needed to add oil on the passenger side valve cover, you just take the cap off, throw the oil straight into the valve cover, twist it back on. Now if you need to check your transmission level, you pull out this extremely long dipstick. It's like 3 feet long. I mean, the thing is huge to get down to the transmission. On the passenger side fender, you did also have a bottle jack, and it's a tire iron and some other tools, kind of neat. This one does have an aftermarket carburetor, so it's a Holley 670. So yeah, it does have some extra help there. Once you're done under the hood, bringing it down is pretty simple. You just want to be careful. You want to sort of rock the hood a little bit back and forth as you bring it down. If you just straight push it, you might actually crease the hood, so you want to be pretty careful there. The key situation, you've got this square key, which is your ignition key. This kind of oval key was your door key, and then the last one was your gas cap key. Now it's pretty simple. If you need to get into the truck, put the key into the keyhole, give it a twist, and that would unlock or lock the door, depending on whatever you needed. And then from there, you just pop it open pretty easily. Looking at the door panel, really basic. The blue on blue is kind of nice, but yeah, there's really not too much on the door going on. As far as the interior, this one's got a cloth bench on it. Again, it's a blue on blue truck. If you needed to adjust your seat, you had a little lever on the side, and you just kind of pulled the lever, and then you could scoot forward, scoot back, depending on what you needed. This truck was equipped with wing windows, so you just kind of popped them open, twisted them, and move this lever back to close it shut. Crank windows, of course. Twist it to roll it up. Nice and simple, straightforward operation. Crank it back down to bring it down. Just basic door handle, nothing fancy. And then your manual locks. Boop, push it down, lock it, pull it back up to unlock it. Moving on to the dash, you had this nice brushed aluminum look. Your gauges, you had a volt gauge in the top left, oil pressure top right. This one, it's a blank, but on some you had that as a fuel gauge, and then an RPM gauge was where the fuel gauge is. Your temp gauge, your speedometer went up to 100, probably pretty sketchy to get that fast. And then below that you had what gear you're in, and off to the right this one has the fuel gauge here. And then if we move down below the left pods, you're going to have a little lever to turn on your wash or your wipers. And then you also had just a little switch that you would pull out, turn the headlights on. On the steering column, this one does have a tilt wheel, so you just kind of pull that in, move the wheel up and down to change that. You had your turn signal stock, of course. And then over on the right hand side, you had your ignition switch. You just turn the key forward to turn it on. Let's go ahead and take a listen to it. Then to shift to the gears, you just pull the lever down, change between park, reverse, neutral, drive, low gears, back up. And if you're wondering what that annoying noise was, it had a fasten seatbelt indicator, revel in it. Moving on to the dash, you had a little cubby at the top where you could kind of put some stuff. Below that you had your fan controls, that changes fan speed. That one changes where the air comes out, whether it's through the dash or through the vents on the front of the dash. And then of course hot and cold. This one was equipped with a cassette player, and so you had your volume knob. It also changed like the fader and balance. You can eject the tape out using that button, change your time. Those are the different track buttons, and rewind and fast forward. On the right, the knob here controlled, it would change to like the channels or change the bass and treble. And then this one does have a little aftermarket storage box. So you had like some cup holders, little container there, and then when you open the lid up, this one had spots to put your cassette tapes. Had Eagles, Hotel California. This guy had great taste. ZZ Top Eliminator. Led Zeppelin, No Quarter. Good old Santana. Looking at the passenger side of the dash, you had that same kind of brushed aluminum trim with the Sierra Grande badge on there. Of course, you had your ashtray, and then the little push style cigarette lighter. If you needed to heat it up, you just pushed it in, and that would start to heat that up. Glove box, you just kind of twist the little dial on the front of it, and that drops down. Pretty decent space to put whatever you need, owner's manual or whatever, fuses. This one did have disc brakes, so on the brake pedal it said disc brakes. That lets you know that you have disc brakes. Moving over from there, did have a e-brake pedal, and then it had a brake release. You just pulled it, popped it back up. The little button on the floor, that's actually your high beam switch, so you just press that in to turn them on, press it again to turn it off. And then this one has the floor vents, so there's just a little lever that you pull and push to open up that vent to let more air in through the floor. And then same thing on the passenger side, just grab that lever and that opens that vent up or closes it depending on what you want. And this one does have the 2 saddle style tanks, so you have your auxiliary and your main tank. So on the passenger side there was the main tank and it just had just the gas cap. On the driver's side, this one had a little cover, and you use that 3rd key, just kind of twist it, pop it open, and the gas cap was hiding back behind it, and you just twist it back, close it, lock it up. We did have sun visors. This one actually had some catalytic converter information on the driver's side. And then passenger side was just blank, there's nothing special going on there. You had an interior dome light, pop the door open, dome light turns on. It does also have a sliding rear window, so if you wanted a little more airflow through the truck, you just kind of pop this little lever aside and just slide it open. It opens more than that, I just didn't want to open it all the way, it was being a little sticky. If you needed extra storage, you could get behind the seat, there's a little lever, the entire seat folds forward, and then you had space to put things like he's got, jumper cables, fire extinguisher, and such. So it's kind of nice having a little bit of extra storage. This one did have the rally style wheels, which are always a really cool look on these trucks. Then up front for suspension, on the 2-wheel drives you had an independent suspension with a sway bar, coil spring, gas shock. Out rear you had leaf springs and a gas shock as well. Then moving to the back of the truck, if you needed to get into the bed, it's pretty easy, just like the hood. You walk up, there's a little lever, you pull that lever, it unlatches it, and then from there you can pull the tailgate down. And of course, with any pickup truck, it's a nice place to sit. And then looking at the bed itself, this one does have a liner that was put in, but nice big usable bed. And this is actually a short bed at 6 feet. You could also get a long bed, which was 8 feet long. And then put the tailgate back up, just pull it up, pull the handle, make sure it's latched. And then underneath, you're going to have your hookup for like trailer lights. And then of course, you also have a spare tire as well. Alright, so there we are. That is a look at the 1978 Sierra Grande C15. These are just such awesome trucks. The square bodies are so beloved. This era was, it doesn't matter if you had a Chevy, a Ford, a Dodge, or even like the Jeep J series. This was just such a great era for trucks. I'm really glad I got to take a look at this one. And I really hope you guys enjoyed looking at it too. So, as always, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.